Hello and welcome to Fierce Feedback, the show where two friends bring two things and battle it out for your amusement. But wait a minute, you're not Liz McCurry.
I'm not Liz McCurry. I'm so sorry, Liz.
That's not good either.
That's not normal.
Are you from Sheffield?
No, I'm not. I'm from Paris, France. As you can tell by my very incredibly French accent.
You sound incredibly French.
Yeah, incredibly French.
So I should say, hi, Aurora Demopoulos.
Hello, Will Goldstone.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
How are
thank
you?
Yeah, I'm very happy that you are our first guest host.
Oh, I didn't know I was the first.
You are. Well, you would know that if you'd listened to the show and been a better friend. So,
excuse me, I listened to your beta tests.
You did when we were so bad that they went live. So, for those of you not familiar with the show, we each are bringing along a game. We haven't told each other what that game is. Aurora has got a very mysterious red envelope that says
Aurora's mystery game.
I thought you were going into Northern again. I thought you were going, Aurora's mystery game.
No.
It's dead good.
It is dead good.
Yeah.
It is dead good.
Well,
you are going to kick yourself, sir, when I open this.
Oh, okay.
Red.
Kick myself. Street Fighter? Is it the Street Fighter?
No, that's not even a clue.
So we battle it out and we're going to tell each other why we think these games are wonderful. And then at the end, we're going to talk to Transformer, who's going to tell us some weird tale about our games.
I like how you talked. You said we're going to talk to Transformer as if
he's our little friend.
Yeah, like he's your little friend.
Yeah. Would you like to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Cool. Do you want to open my big red mystery envelope?
I kind of do, yeah, because it feels like a gift.
It is a gift.
So Aurora's presented me with Aurora's mystery game, The Envelope, because she failed to locate a copy of the game in time.
No, what? Okay.
That's fine, which is fine.
Yeah.
This is great audio of me opening the envelope.
He's opening. He is. I did seal it.
It's like Clinton's card.
Because I wanted the audio feedback for lack of visuals.
Okay, I'm going to empty out the envelope. This is what you meant when you said you're cheating. So Aurora's cheated by printing out the box art for Halo Combat Evolved.
But what version specifically, William?
On the PC CD games.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm being very specific about that version.
Okay. I didn't play it on PC CD games. I played this on the Mac, which is weird. And we played this multiplayer. Yeah. We had it on Mac because when I used to work at Bournemouth Uni, we used to play this on our lunch breaks. This was our multiplayer game.
Crazy.
Blood Gulch represent.
That's very strange.
Yeah. So tell me, Aurora, the funny thing is about this podcast, we usually do old games, and I don't think of Halo as an old game.
It is a really fucking old game. No, hang on a minute.
Go on.
Well, hang on a minute. There's specific factoids about Halo Combat Evolved PC edition.
Oh, okay.
Because the original Xbox edition, so they actually launched it as a Mac game. Well, they didn't even launch it. They announced it at Macworld.
They just left it outside and hoped people would
they just left
play
it outside. No, they announced it at Macworld 1999.
Oh.
As a Mac exclusive game to show off the power of like the new Mac or whatever it was at the time.
I mean, no offense to Apple, but they didn't have particularly powerful
No,
graphics
they didn't.
cards.
No, they didn't. And Bungie had terrible trouble developing for it.
Oh, okay.
Come in Microsoft in 2000, they bought out Bungie Studios.
Right.
And made Halo the exclusive for the original Xbox.
They did, with the giant controller.
And that came out in November 15th, 2001.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
so it's actually older than this box suggests.
Yeah, so the actual game is older. However, that specific edition that was ported to PC by Gearbox. See, I told you I know a lot about this game. I don't even have to look at my fucking notes.
I'm laughing because Aurora's got a notepad with a bunch of stuff in it, but she's just going to verbatim just fire out everything she's written down.
I'm looking directly at you and not even my notes.
Go.
The PC version came out in 2003.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like a few years older and they made some improvements and added a ton of multiplayer maps to it. So there's actually different maps on it.
They did. I'm going to back you up a little bit. And you have unveiled Halo because you're very excited to unveil
I'm very
this.
excited.
And I was very excited by the envelope. And I realised this didn't really introduce you at all.
Oh, yeah.
So you are a friend of the show. I've known you a long time.
Yeah,
And you also work in the games industry.
I do.
With Liz and I.
Yep.
And what do you do there?
I'm head of production.
You are head of production?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. What does that mean? What do you do?
So I make small games to teach people how to use our software.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Which is really cool.
I just realised we'd skipped that entirely.
Yeah, I got overexcited. I was like, look at my game!
Halo!
It's Halo! Oh my god!
I don't know why I didn't guess Halo.
Yeah, I was very disappointed when you guessed every other game except Halo.
I broke all the rules earlier when we were setting up, and I said to Aurora, "Oh, it's got to be Gears of War, the game,
but
or
the game of the film of the game."
Yeah, or Assassin's Creed, the game of the film of the game of the book.
No, none of those things.
It was just none of those things.
But I think you only
Halo?
said Gears of War because I was literally talking about it on Twitter this morning.
Yes, you have been talking about it a lot lately.
Which
but
is
I should like think, because you do cosplay as well.
Yes.
Have you done a Halo thing? You've done a Halo thing,
No,
right?
I have not. I've planned a Halo thing.
Oh, you've made the Gears gun, right?
No.
No?
I didn't. I bought that gun because I was too lazy.
The shame.
I know. Well, no, not really.
No, it's quite a big task.
Yeah, it's great. No, but I have done a Gears of War cosplay and I'm planning to do another one. Hence why I was talking about it.
Right. Anyway, Halo Combat Evolved 2001. Continue.
Well, actually, my story starts in 2003 at the tender age of 15.
Okay.
Because...
What, your whole story?
No.
Just the game one?
Just the game one.
Got it.
Yeah. Because... So, I think one of the questions, like, spoiler alert, like, there was, like, a brief for this because I'm not Liz. In case you didn't know until now.
Yeah.
Not Liz.
We have not said dead good.
Dead good. It is dead good. And it's dead good because... So, I played a lot of GoldenEye in my time as a young child.
A youth.
And then, so I was still gaming a little bit, but I'd never had a comparable multiplayer experience and I never had an original Xbox. I only had a PC, which I would tear apart and put back together all the time. But that's besides the point.
So give me a quick, I don't mean to cut you off, give me a quick rundown of your platform history, shall we say?
Platform history. Started on the N64.
Okay.
Nintendo.
First console. Was that the first thing you played games on?
No. So the first thing I played games on was a Sega Mega Drive. I played Sonic. Hated it. Still hate Sonic. I'm really sorry, everyone. Hate it.
I think that's a widely held opinion, to be honest. I don't think you got it.
As a game, it sucks.
Okay.
Sorry.
But you're looking forward to the film. Great.
No.
Continue.
Like the hands.
Yeah. Oh.
No. Yeah, so that was the thing. And then convinced, like, it was at a time where ladies of female gender, I don't know, they...
It's quite a lot of them.
Yeah, it was kind of looked down upon to play games and not really a thing. So my dad was just like, no, this is a boys' thing, like, you can't. So I managed to convince him through a long time of harassment of like, I need a console, I want a console, give me a Nintendo 64, I want one. And then one Christmas, I had the Nintendo 64 moment of opening it up.
Amazing.
Yeah, which was great. Yeah, and so I had GoldenEye, I had all the... I think actually I had GoldenEye and Ocarina of Time.
Wow.
And
that's a strong start.
Yeah, it was a really strong start.
Presumably all downhill from there. Based on the rest of the catalogue, apart from Mario 64, which is great.
Yeah, I didn't really get on with it. I remember borrowing it from my friend. I was like, I don't care, I'm going to play GoldenEye again.
But yeah, you'd already got into their more complex catalogue of those two games, right?
Yeah.
So I guess Mario 64 felt a bit more like a toy.
No, I just got really bored because I was more into... Like, Zelda was okay, but I couldn't really complete it. The puzzles were too hard. I was way more interested in playing the campaign of GoldenEye over and over again and completing that. So I was like, from the get-go, FPSs were my jam.
Right.
And
that's where that comes from.
That's where that comes from.
Oh, cool.
So, did the classic, like, play with friends, like, in real life, split screen, like, that was all great. And after that kind of died off, there was nothing, and I still played games and stuff, but I didn't have that multiplayer, like, FPS experience, and I really missed it. And then I never got an Xbox, But I did have a PC, and a friend of mine was just like, have you heard of Halo? And I was like, tell me about what is a Halo.
Yes.
So, for those of you who do not know, Halo Combat Evolved is like, probably like, so if you think of GoldenEye as the great granddad, like Halo is the granddad.
I think, well, what does that make Doom?
Yeah, I guess so.
Right.
But like of modern FPSs, like Doom was a thing,
Right.
and then they kind of scrapped those mechanics because they were like, this feels kind of janky. This was like, we've made something specifically for console, and we've made it feel actual good on console.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was the first thing I'd played on a pad where I was like, oh, actually, this works.
Yeah,
because I'd played. Obviously, I played lots of PC stuff. I was PC forever, and I'd played Quake and Quake 2, and that was like first polygonal things. It was very mouse and keyboard. And then I remember distinctly being in a Virgin Megastore in like, I guess 2000 or 99 or something like that. And, trying to wrap my hands around the giant Xbox controller.
Duke.
Is that what it's called?
It's called the Duke,
It's called the Duke.
The Duke.
Losers.
I couldn't put my hands around it either.
That's why they got rid of it, because it was just ridiculous.
Well, they made a mini one. They made like a one for human hands.
Yeah. As opposed to those Covenant hands.
Yeah.
More about them later. But yeah, it definitely felt like it was designed with the platform and the hardware in mind.
Yes, it was. And then they did a port on PC because there was a huge, FPS PC market to hit. And that's because I didn't have an Xbox, I got PC, and someone recommended it to me. They were like, oh, it's out on PC, like you can get it. Because I knew about it, but I was like, I don't have an Xbox. And they're like, it's on the PC though.
Well, it says on the back here, there's a Gearbox software logo.
Yes.
And a Bungie logo. Did they port it?
They ported it. Gearbox ported it
over
to PC. And it was great. And I never played with real people. Well, I did play with real people, but it was all online. So
you didn't know them?
I didn't know them. It wasn't the same. But there was kind of like, and I don't really remember them now, but there was always a group of people that always played the same map, which was, off the top of my head, was called Death Island. And Death Island is based on the mission Silent Cartographer, where you land on that island. That very epic, like there's an epic, you drop from a drop ship and you go up, you do a storm up the beach up to an amazing sort of your first Covenant. Yeah, imagine the music happening. That's when it first kicks in. You storm in a beach, you go to a big room and a Forerunner structure, and it's your first kind of, this is kind of crazy, and you go into a map room and you're trying to find the Silent Cartographer, which everyone knew what a cartographer was after they played Halo.
Exactly, yeah. The first time.
So it was a map based on that, and it was huge. Like, as multiplayer maps went, it was massive. Like, and what made it special was, like, I do love Blood Gulch, which is the famous enclosed one. But this one on a beach, there's so many levels and indoor and outdoor areas. Like, you can have flying vehicles, the Banshees that were super famous, and like all of the weapons. But one thing in particular that a lot of people played were mods. So on the PC,
of course,
people had specific servers set up with like 24, I think it was 24, and I was trying to double check, but there's so little information now because it was a long time ago. I think it was like 24 players, and like these matches would last for like an hour long because they'd set the scores like super high, and they'd put all the weapons on, and then they would like edit the map so they would be like secret portals to teleport to other bits of the map, but you only knew that they were there if you knew.
Yeah.
So if anyone like new came to the server, like
people were just disappearing.
Yeah, and they also like you'd get like shat on immediately by other players because we would just teleport behind you through our secret ways. And it was amazing, and I would always pick up a sniper rifle and like teleport up to the top and snipe everyone down, and it was just beautiful moments.
Yeah, I loved playing. I love playing Blood Gulch, and the thing is, there were only 4 of us in our office, sometimes 5, playing this map, and it was always just exactly the same carnage replicated over and over again. But for some reason, it was just infinitely enjoyable.
Yeah, and satisfying.
Yeah,
it was great. It's my favorite. So it's super significant for me because I immediately became obsessed with that game for the rest of my life. So I think I did the maths earlier. I had to figure out, I do note this down. I was 15 when I started playing that game, and I still play it. I was actually playing it before I took a business trip last week.
Business.
Yeah.
I think the most I've played a Halo game was maybe 3, because we played the campaign co-op on a TV when I was at uni, and I just remember like the absolute amazing tension of the last bit where you're on a warthog and you're doing it co-op and you're driving to sort of make this leap onto
and the level was falling away from you.
And it was like lava falling away. That's what I remember about Halo.
That's where I met my boyfriend of 8 years.
He happened to be on that.
He was on
that warthog.
On that warthog. No, that's the level we played because we had to get a specific achievement.
Right.
It was called the Vidmaster achievement, and you had to do it with 4 players. Basically, it was a series of achievements on the Xbox across different Halo games that if you got all of them, you got a very special helmet. And so this helmet was so rare for like your customized Spartan that only like a few people had done it. And it was really hard to do. And me and my mates did it. And it was just like, that was one of my crowning achievements of my life. Because I'm having the Recon helmet.
As you know, I'm not someone who's into sports. It's not really my thing. But I remember just being like, when we managed to pull off that leap at the end of the game and got to safety. And I think we'd fucked up a couple of times, but like, it was just that tension just unleashed, and we were just jumping up and kind of screaming at each other like, yeah, come on.
Now imagine doing that with no respawns on the hardest difficulty in one run. That's what we had to do with four people.
But what is it, just the start of the level you've got to go?
No, it's the whole thing. The whole level.
Right, yeah, that's what I mean, but it's not the start of the game or anything.
No.
Okay. Fucking hell, still. That's a lot. That is a lot.
It's a lot.
But I think with Halo, that what struck me about the first one was that it was like, I remember playing a demo maybe on PC before I was older and then played it. I must have been like 25, 26 when we were playing when I worked. But the first one, it was the like kind of cinematic aspect of it that made it interesting. Because it was kind of, like I said this on a previous episode, I was very kind of PC Master Race kind of guy. Like, very snobby, especially with shooters, because shooters were like, from the PC.
Yeah, I got there with Halo. Like, I was just like, why would I play it on the Xbox? It's so superior. That died away very quickly.
Yeah, apparently.
But yeah, an interesting factoid about the cutscenes. Do you know how they were made?
I don't.
So they were like manually controlled. Like I can't remember whether it was he was specifically the cinematics director at the time, but he was definitely one of the directors of the game.
Okay.
Who he would control.
Do you have a name for this person?
I can't remember his name at all.
Good research.
Yeah, thanks. No, this is something, I didn't even research it. It's something that I remember.
Got it.
I remember from many a documentary I have watched. He would manually control the camera, and so he would do 1 million takes. So imagine like playing the game 1 million times and like moving Master Chief very slowly. Like he was essentially doing machinima before it was a thing. To do all of the cutscenes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what made it stand out, was literally just the eye for cinematics, because that's kind of what you got a bit of that with, I guess, Half-Life. So that would have been, when's that? I think that's the same year, 98, 99, if I remember rightly.
Oh. That was, well, Halo was announced in 99. It wasn't out. But it was definitely before.
This felt bigger because it was, ostensibly outdoor a lot more on a planet.
But you had a huge sense of scale.
Yeah.
And like you could actually,
Halo, right?
Yeah. And you could actually go, like you could go to the places that you could see from far away.
Yeah.
So that's why they had those like huge levels, and it was just like, take this warthog, like this like crazy vehicle with like all four steering, which made no sense at the time.
They must have innovated somehow in terms of actually loading in level content at that point then, because nothing else. I remember other things that were doing large scale, but they were doing it with like voxels. Like there was a game series called Delta Force on PC, and it was all about,
I've heard of it, but
like where you could, like my friend Darren was obsessed with this game, which is like going around on his PC. He's like, oh, look, I can get this sniper rifle. And there's a guy like 5 kilometers away. And I can see like these voxels just wiggling. And then I load up a scope and I can see like slightly few more voxels wiggling. And when I fire and they just turn to a little, like they just turn a bit red.
So it was no Sniper Elite.
It wasn't, it was hardly like the, cinematic, wanted experience that you didn't want. I
love that film.
No, you don't.
I do.
Oh.
I love Angelina Jolie. It's probably different than loving the film.
It is. Yeah. So Halo, awesome. Any other factoids about Halo?
I got a million. I've been to Bungie.
You've been to Halo.
I've been to Halo. No, I've been to Bungie.
Okay.
And I have a really embarrassing story where it was a friend of a friend. So my friend knew someone at Bungie and was just like, "Oh, you're in Seattle on business. Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" They were like, "Yeah. Do you want to go like right now?" And I was like, "I'm dropping everything. I'm going to Bungie." And so I literally walk in and there's Do
they know you're coming or?
Yeah. Like the person like arranged
the
this.
Contact.
Yeah. Friend of mine arranged this specifically for me. So it's not like I just turned up.
Like, what up?
Yeah. It was very much not like that because I just got very quiet and I walked in and just immediately started crying because they have this enormous entrance with every single like bit of memorabilia from all of the Halo games that you could imagine, including a real scale Master Chief. That is, by the way, he's huge. Everyone says how tall he is. He's really tall.
Right.
And it's just everywhere. And I was walking around this thing and this poor guy from Bungie was just like escorting this girl who was crying around there.
That's awesome.
And it's just like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No.
No, in the best way.
In the best way." So.
Cool. That is a good story. I mean, I don't think I've ever visited studios of Heroes. I'm going to be forgetting some now that I've visited.
I know you visited.
I've visited Valve. I've visited a few places, and they are pretty amazing.
They are amazing, but it didn't have I did not break down like I did at Bungie, which was still really embarrassing. But not afraid to tell the story.
But worth it.
Worth it. So worth it. My tears are on the floor of Bungie Studios.
Right. Was that pre or post Destiny?
Post Destiny.
Right.
So they had a ton of Destiny stuff as well, but the majority of the stuff was Halo.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. I was just reading the back of the description.
Look at the computer specs. Like, what do you need to run this game?
You need a 733 megahertz processor, a 1.2 gig hard drive, and a 32 meg video card.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
It is really exciting. Like top of the line graphics.
Top spec.
Top spec.
Multiplayer requirements, 56k modem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another fun fact. I tried to run Crysis on that PC that I had.
What, the same one what ran Halo?
Yes. And the guy in the shop was like, "Are you sure this is going to run on your PC?" I was like, "Yeah, I know what I'm doing." Got home, didn't run.
Yeah.
So then I built a PC specifically to run Crysis.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did exactly that. It's just like, I'm going to upgrade for Crysis.
Yeah.
It was very good.
It was very good.
We should probably talk about that one day. I love Crysis. So that's Halo. And I'm going to see your Halo and go off on a bit of a bizarre tangent with my game, which I'm unveiling.
Oh my gosh.
Which I've wrapped in a t-shirt. So this is Lemmings 2.
Wow.
The Tribes. Developed by DMA Design and published by Psygnosis in 1993. I'm going to hand you the box.
That is a mega box.
This is a big box PC. I have a lot of big box PCs. I love
this stuff. I know it's kind of wasteful, but why can't we
Why did it go away?
It's the same thing with manuals. Like, I really miss the smell of a good manual.
The smell? Why is
in the interest of conservation, this inner carton is produced from recycled biodegradable material.
Yeah, it has not degraded.
It has not degraded.
I've kept it in good condition. So Aurora is opening up the box, which has...
Oh my God, there's a free postcard questionnaire.
Yep.
You've never sent that off?
No, I didn't ever give them my opinion. This is a bit weird, isn't it?
Can you give them your opinion now? I wonder who's at Liverpool L3 3AB postcode for the internet.
I thought about that because there's some pretty cool like you can send off for merch, like a t-shirt and stuff. And I was like, I really want that t-shirt. But then I think, well, they're definitely not there anymore.
Well, you never know. Like, I've heard stories, and these are stories on Das Internet that, talk about I sent off for this thing, and it was great. Advanced technical details.
That's a very detailed story. Thanks. I sent off for this thing, and it's great. What is that?
Advanced technical details.
So the box also contains advanced technical details because in those days you had to understand the details of your sound card and configure your mouse properly. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Yep, 2 discs, 2 high density floppy disks.
Oh my god. I haven't held a floppy disk in my hand.
What have you held it in?
My feet.
You freak.
I only pick them up with my toes.
Yeah, still at the discs, of course. I'm just looking up. So like I said, by DMA Design, published by Psygnosis, and Psygnosis aren't still around. I'm just having a Google to find out when they went away. So Psygnosis, I think you'd know from. Pretty sure they or am I getting confused? Maybe they published Wipeout as some of their last few things.
Oh, really?
Okay, so Psygnosis, like I said, yeah, I was right. It's Lemmings, Wipeout, they did Colony Wars and Formula 1 series. And so they closed around 2012 kind of time.
Oh, that's sad. And fairly recent.
Yeah, so they published a lot of cool things. So this was all like a lot of the northern game dev centric stuff in the UK was kind of around that area of Liverpool, if I remember rightly. So, like I said, DMA Design. Are you aware of DMA Design?
Not really.
Well, you will be, and you are, because DMA Design. So founded in 1987 by Mike Dailies, Dave Jones, Steve Hammond, Russell Kay, amongst a few others, stood for Direct Memory Access. And basically, these guys are responsible for kind of responsible for Abate and Dundee.
Oh yeah.
So DMA went on to do Grand Theft Auto.
Yes,
exactly.
They did.
There you go. I knew you'd know them. But they started out in the kind of like golden age of like home computing, with like, early PCs, the Atari ST, Amiga, all that kind of stuff. And they met in Kingsway Amateur Computer Club in 1984. And they basically made a few different games around that era of like sort of 1989. They made a game called Blood Money. Another game called Walker, and I think there's an ad for the game Walker, or there's an ad for their back catalogue inside the box there somewhere.
Rustling inside this box.
You can have a little Russell K through there.
Back catalogue, new releases.
Yeah, tell me
Hired Guns, Prime Mover, and Microcosm.
Yeah, Microcosm was another big one for them. But yeah, so they basically made a bunch of games and developed a relationship with Psygnosis. And one of them, I apologize, I've forgotten who, but one of them kind of went back. Some of them were doing uni courses and then quit. And like, I remember the guy's tutor, there's a quote here somewhere, said to him, "Oh, the only people who make any money with computers are like hardware engineers. You're never going to make money making software." And then one day, more recent years, they gave him like an honorary doctorate, because like DMA Design, they made Grand Theft Auto. Yeah. The last game as DMA was Grand Theft Auto 2, and they became Rockstar when they made GTA 3, and Rockstar North, the rest is history. They've been making all of the games and all of the money ever since.
Games.
Yeah, including obviously Red Dead. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
This is a lot of facts. This is better facts than me just gushing about like, I had a really good time.
Well, no, so like, I mean, that's kind of a bit of the history. They made a few different kind of shooter games. They made this Walker game with kind of like this Ed 209. It's like, from RoboCop, the big thing, which was like a mech platform shooter. And in that game, what they did was they wanted to give a sense of scale for that main character. So they're like, okay, well, we've only got, because like computer screens didn't have super high res at that time. So they had a certain amount of scale to play with in pixels. So they basically set out to make the smallest possible humans they could make out of pixels for scale compared to the Walker thing.
Yeah.
So they made 5 pixel high humans that would kind of be milling around as you kind of walked around as this mech and shot other things and stomped on civilians or whatever. I don't know if you actually stomped on civilians.
Stomped on pixels.
Maybe you saved them. Yeah, I'm not sure. But basically...
Save the pixels.
Yeah, so they made a test for this game and they were like, oh, it's quite cool having like this little test where you just unleash all of these humanoid tiny pixel characters and then eventually watch them march to their death. There's definitely a game in that. Interesting. Yeah. And then they sort of put that on the back burner and carried on about finishing these games. And then the idea was that they kind of would go back to Lemmings. So in 1990, so like 2 or 3 years later, they went back to working on Lemmings. So a quick rundown of anyone who doesn't know what Lemmings is. So historically, there's like this myth about the animal known as the lemming. The lemming is known as being a suicidal animal. So if you ever hear someone say, oh, what a bunch of lemmings, like they're doing something, it's basically Brexit, doing something to themselves that they know will harm themselves.
Why not do that on this day?
On this wonderful day. We're recording this on the day that Boris Johnson is announced as Prime Minister for the UK. So
we had to talk about something cheerful like video games. Feeling that
loss of sanity. So lemmings are meant to be this suicidal animal. It's a myth. It's obviously nonsense.
Yeah, I didn't think that was real. Well, you said it as if it was a real animal. I was like...
Aminal.
Aminal, yeah.
No, the animal's real.
Right, but is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. They live in like northern Alaska and Canada and things. And they live in snow and little holes.
I need to see what they look like. Do they look like these fellas on the box?
Not really. I looked them up. They look a bit like. I mean, you can Google them at home. Look up
you can Google it too.
Lemming animal. I'm going to show Aurora what they look like. They look like what's like a guinea pig. There you go. There's a picture of it.
They do look like guinea pigs.
They're like sort of different.
It's like a cross between a guinea pig and a hamster.
Yeah.
Even though they're already fairly similar. They're rodents.
But the name Gamsters wasn't going to really take off. So they're real animal, and they I looked up an article about the myth, and I found this thing which amused me a little bit. It says, contrary to popular belief, lemmings do not commit mass suicide when they migrate. It's a misconception fueled by the media and video game industries.
The video game industry fueling misnomers about
trying
Animal
to convince
Kingdom.
people about lemmings for years.
Just like the Lion King and their lies about lions.
Yeah, exactly. So Lemmings basically as a game, it's kind of like the premise is a bit like the Rube Goldberg machines, the kind of cause and effect thing. If you don't know what they are, if you've ever seen an OK Go video, that. So basically, it basically you have a door where the lemmings get released from, and they kind of are just like tiny little 5 pixel sprite characters falling down, and they kind of follow each other. And then there's a map and then a goal. There's a little castle with a flag, and you have to get them, as many of them as you can, to the goal. And you have to get, a certain amount in order to beat the level. And they're basically traversing this level, and they're puzzles, and there's hazards that are going to kill them. Like if you just leave them alone, they'll fall off into death, or they'll fall into some spike, or something will happen. So the standard kind of gameplay of Lemmings was to you use the mouse, you select an action for them to take of like a little grid at the bottom of the screen of like 8 different things. And you choose what they're going to do. Like one could hold his arms out to block the others, and then the others next to them would just start turning away from him and go the other way, sort of bounce off him and keep walking.
Right.
Or you could have one that tunnels downwards and creates a hole through the map, and they fall through the hole to get to another bit.
Yeah.
So it's all about like using all these different skills to get to safety. And basically this was kind of like, kind of an unexpected massive hit for them. It just really like set them up.
Was it the first Lemmings or Lemmings 2?
So I'm discussing the first Lemmings just to queue up, and then I'll come on to the second one. But basically they refined this game. They made a ton of levels, and
I thought you were going to say a ton of money.
Well, they did. This is the beauty of it, was that they'd made these other games, which, as they kind of said about themselves, at that time, computers were kind of for enthusiasts. They weren't kind of breaking out, as much because, home consoles hadn't really taken off.
Yeah.
Like 1990 was, Super Nintendo kind of came out. And, so that was starting to build up. And obviously the NES was
just after
huge.
the crash in the 80s, right?
Well, yeah. So it's like...
no one really had much technology. It was just like...
Yeah, we didn't know. You didn't know what a home computer was going to actually mean. Was it going to be a work thing? Was it a... it was before we had like what we called multimedia as well, like
multimedia as opposed to the first media.
Yeah, like base single media. But yeah, so it was before like CD-ROMs and all these other things. So when it came out, though, it was just like insanely popular. It sold 55,000 copies on its first day.
That's
amazing.
amazing for
which was slightly less than all of their other games had sold.
Really, but that's still amazing for like a thing that no one knows about.
Yeah, this is what I find crazy about it. And they estimated that 15 million copies sold historically, which if you consider like a top 10 PlayStation 4 game at the moment is between 10 and 20 million. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. And I was thinking about this yesterday, and I thought about the fact that at that time, a lot of the games you would play, even on PC and Amiga and all that, were with traditional joysticks, right? So a big stick and 2 or 3 buttons. But this was a mouse-controlled game, so it felt a bit more like elegant and using future-facing hardware, I guess.
God, saying mouse as future-facing hardware is like...
This was when I had a PC and I was just playing on a keyboard.
I know. A friend of mine had a personal computer and I played the Dennis the Menace game.
Oh, wow.
It. Yeah.
Weird. Did not know that was a thing. So they released Lemmings. It was a huge success. They then released something called More Lemmings, which was basically a level pack. And then 2 came along. So basically they wanted to find a way to follow it up fairly soon after and kind of bring something more to it as well, which was kind of a challenge because you don't want to mess with a formula too much. So what they did was to come up with the concept of the tribes, which is what Lemmings 2 is all about. And I was obsessed with this as a kid. Like I'm sure I've got in my folder of doodles my Lemmings 2 fan art as well.
Was it fan art of this lemming here?
That lemming
who's doing a belly
Aurora
flop.
Is pointing at a member of the beach tribe, I believe.
I don't know if he's surfing or doing a belly flop because there is a surfboard.
Doing a little bit of both. But yeah, so the traditional kind of blue outfit, green head, weird humanoid animal lemmings, super cute design, but then they decided, right, we'll up the ante by making 12 tribes. And so they start out the game, and you can see on the box, if you Google Lemmings 2 the Tribes or look at the box art on our website, fiercefeedback.fun, you can see that there is this thing called the talisman in the background of the box art. And basically that is their kind of like, the lore is that they when they arrived in their homeland, they split up this talisman into 12 pieces, and each one went to a different tribe. And it's the thing that kind of keeps them safe. And there's all this kind of like backstory about like, oh yes, we must avoid the great darkness and all this kind of thing. And they really went to town on the intro sequence where they had this like grandpa lemming telling a young lemming about the history of the clans. Yeah, it's a pretty tried and true technique. But yeah, so basically in 2, the thing that was cool about it, and it wasn't reviewed as well as the first one, just because the first one was kind of like a phenomenon. It got like 100% in some magazines and stuff. It was just ridiculous, which I don't think any game should ever really get, but I did love Lemmings. So I let it off.
You would give it 100% from your heart.
I would, from my love for it. But yeah, so Lemmings 2 gave each tribe a bunch of different things that it could do. So like the Highland Lemmings, what did the Highland Lemmings do? I don't know why I picked them as one that I can't remember.
What about this one?
Yeah, so the ninja guy.
Is it a ninja or is it a military one? Because
I think they were called the Shadow Tribe. I think they were ninjas
with rocket launchers.
The beauty of it is there's a ninja looking guy and he's got a bazooka. I think he's meant to be more of a Navy SEAL than a ninja.
But they've got it a bit wrong.
But they've kind of generalized a bunch of things, which is pretty great. But they had a bazooka, and they could rope onto things and rappel. Some of them had parachutes. there were just like a bunch of different things that you could do with each level. And I think why it didn't necessarily resonate with like traditional fans was that you had to use that set of skills for that level.
Oh, right.
But you had the existing skills as well, but it was kind of like mixed up every time. But I loved it. I thought it was really, really smart. And one of the reasons that I loved this, and I played more of 2 than 1, I think. One of the reasons that I love this, and I talked about this in a previous episode, is that it's basically the progenitor to Worms.
Yeah.
The guy that made Worms ripped Lemmings to make his demo of Worms, because he took the engine of destroying the pixel world and stuff to build that game on his Amiga. So yeah, I absolutely adore Lemmings 2. I did all of my fan art about it. And I just loved all the inventiveness. Like the main thing about it,
art.
Yeah. I'll post it on the post on the website. But I think it was just the genius of the puzzles that they come up with, because it was all in kind of good humor of like just like letting things murder themselves and saving them from murdering themselves.
The good fun.
Yeah, who doesn't love a bit of senseless lemming destruction? But yeah, I really loved that, and I loved the kind of like expansion to the world that they brought to it by adding these different tribes of lemming. I just thought that was really a cool way to expand it.
I just like their like nondescript design. It's just like, here's a bunch of lemmings with like cool hair.
Yeah. And they've all got different clothes and different things. It's a character design that lends itself to being turned into a bunch of different things.
Yeah. Which I really appreciate. It's just
I'd really love to see, like, I don't know if there are any things in their archives, but like tribes that they threw away or something. That would be cool.
Those throwaway tribes.
Yeah. So there was the Beach Tribe, Cave Lem Tribe, which are the cave lemming, Classic, which is your standard lemming, Polar Tribe, Space, Outdoor, Medieval, Highland, Egyptian, Sports, Shadow, and Circus. So,
I don't like the circus lemming.
That's because it looks like a clown, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks really scary.
I don't remember what those ones did.
I don't know. But there he is. That one there.
Yeah, well, that's because he's giving a bit of side eye. He's looking a bit like he's up to something.
Yeah.
So what does the box say, and what have we got in the box?
So the box says it requires 640k base memory.
Oh, yeah.
Which is amazing.
Base.
VGA or MCGA graphics card, hard drive, HD disk drive, Microsoft mouse, or analog joystick. So you could use it with joystick.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
Well, they ported Lemmings to like nearly everything conceivable at the time because it was so popular. They ported 2 to a fewer things, but yeah, it was interesting. I read this thing that basically they had a mode which they had to cut where basically you could do 2-player with 2 mice, because the Amiga and the Atari both supported having 2 mice plugged in.
Yeah. And
you just get 2 cursors. But the PC didn't support it because...
Well, the MS-DOS PC.
Yeah. I mean, but MS-DOS would support a mouse, but yeah, they didn't generally have 2 mice in mind for anything. So it was kind of like... it was kind of just cut because like it wouldn't work on any other platform.
Yeah. You were talking about knowing how to use or like understand your sound card. There's like a third of it dedicated to like general computer specs, but the rest of the 2/3 is all for sound.
Yeah.
And they really like talk a lot about their like original soundtrack.
Well, yeah, I mean
15 original soundtracks.
That's kind of because in the first one, the music was like just MIDI recreations of like not popular music, but just kind of like I don't know how you describe it, like folk songs or like not folk songs. I don't have a good way to describe this. But like if you think
of popular songs from the past.
From the past. Exactly. But yeah, so in this game you can guide 12 tribes of lemmings across Lemming Island on an incredible journey. The lemmings are in trouble, and only their ancient talisman and a huge amount of skills can save them in this long-awaited follow-up to the Lemming saga.
They're advertising. So inside the box, they've got like the additional brochure where you can send off. Well, it gives you the products that you can buy.
Yeah.
That you can send off via a form, which I really think you should fill the
I
form
really want to fill it in, just in case someone's got a Lemmings mug knocking around.
Yes.
I would love that.
There's just one person in that building, with a ton of stuff, just waiting.
Yeah.
For someone to send in a form.
I would happily pay top dollar for a Lemmings to the Tribes t-shirt.
But they have an advert for Combat Air Patrol, which... So they've got three other game adverts.
Is this a Psygnosis catalogue or is this a DMA catalogue?
I don't know. It doesn't...
I think it's Psygnosis, right?
Yeah, it's
their branding is everywhere.
So it's just like, yeah, it is everywhere. So it's like Lemmings, Tribes, Creepers, Walker, and Combat Air Patrol. And all the pictures for all of them are like stuff of the game, but Combat Air Patrol has a classic Top Gun shot.
Yeah, an actual photo. Not in-game footage.
And then they show you the in-game further down. And
the in-game does not look like the photo.
It's so good. It's like the most basic sprite, but it is polygons.
Yeah, I can't believe you're dissing Combat Air Patrol. I think that was an excellent game. Did I play that?
This is way further than I was playing games.
Yeah. You're too young for this.
I am
malarkey.
Well, I'm not, but I was just not allowed to play games. There's a difference.
Oh, well, yeah, that's not as good. So yeah, Lemmings 2, a wonderful game, a bestseller, and obviously Lemmings, one of the reasons that we have Grand Theft Auto now. So it was so popular, they could get their own office and they could, start a studio and bring everybody together.
I couldn't really explain a lot of Halo, and I kind of defaulted to everyone knows what Halo is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always think of Lemmings as like this famous thing, but I'm not quite sure that it is
Lemmings
anymore.
is. I mean, they've made recent Lemmings, which is what I was going to ask. Who owns the IP now?
That's a very good question. I'm not too sure who owns it anymore. I mean, Psygnosis
there has been future Lemmings.
Yeah, so after that they made
Lemmings of the present.
What was it called? Oh, the Wonderful World, the World of Lemmings or something.
Yeah.
And that just focused on like just 3 tribes instead. And then
that's not a world, is it?
And then they made 3D Lemmings, which I don't remember. But they also made Lemmings Paintball, which I weirdly played a lot of. It was like an isometric shooter where you take turns to just fire paintballs, but you were also the Lemmings.
Okay.
It was in no way.
That's really
like, a Lemmings
we
game.
Need your brand. Put it on anything.
Yeah, this is it. It's just like, we'll slap that on there. But I don't know where that's ended up. I would assume that there is like, this seems like a perfect mobile game, right? Yeah, I thought so. I thought I'd seen this on iOS. Yeah, you can get it on iOS. You can get it on iPad. App Store. Lemmings, the official game.
Gotta make sure, we're the ones that own this IP.
Well, to be fair, it's a mechanic that you can imagine a lot of people ripping off.
Well,
right?
yeah.
So let's see who's made that.
100% sure when I was a student, we all ripped off.
This is by Sad Puppy. This is, according to the reviews, a great game, but could be better.
Why?
Don't know. I'm not willing to read it.
So yeah, you too can play Lemmings. Not 2 though. You could.
You also can play Lemmings.
If you've got, if you had a floppy disk drive, do you think it wouldn't install? Would it? Would it install?
If you could attach their drive to something.
Well, yeah. If we got a floppy disk drive,
yeah,
could we stick it in a
you'd need to
Windows
run
10 machine?
You'd need to run DOSBox.
Oh.
The first hurdle, just immediately give up.
Yeah, welcome to the future. It's just
so
like as soon as the first hurdle of installing something else. Oh no, fuck this.
This was it. I was talking. I did an episode where I talked about Command and Conquer, and I kind of miss. You'll remember this from PC gaming. I miss the install.
I don't
run up.
No.
Well,
I don't miss it.
Well, I miss it because the great thing about certain games, Command and Conquer was definitely one of them, was that they used that time
the first one?
wisely. Yeah. And it was all it was basically like you're loading up this command module and there's all like these little progress bars and all these things going on and little bits of backstory and things being shown to you to distract you from the fact that there was like half an hour wait for you to install like 50 meg.
I usually walked off and did something else, to be honest.
Well, this is it. If they were engaging, then sure. But if they weren't, you were just like, I'm going to go outside and play for a while. Go and breathe some oxygen. But yeah,
you can do that indoors.
You could still play Lemmings 2 if you wanted to. And you should, because it's great. But
I'm sure by today's standards, it's fine.
That's what I think of Lemmings 2, and that's what you think of Halo. But I wonder what
I think of Halo cannot be described in words.
Well, let's see what our friend talktotransformer.com
Now, I wanted to ask you this question.
Please do.
Do we use the full title, Halo Combat Evolved, or just Halo? Because I feel like...
I think you should use the full title.
Yeah, I was going to suggest
I think you're throwing it off.
Exactly. Like, we need to be specific about this.
You don't want to be biasing the results.
No.
Okay, so her face is looking happy.
Wait, it's completing.
Oh, it's still completing.
Oh, this is weird.
Well, that's the idea. So, talktotransformer.com says what about Halo Combat Evolved?
Halo Combat Evolved is now a game changer. Full stop. In addition to the first wave of weapons, armour, vehicles and other customization options, the team at 343 has also designed features that, given their size and weight, can keep players occupied and entertained for many hours. They're talking about the size and weight of players.
Wait, what? I thought you about the weapons.
I don't know.
Okay.
And it's all tied into Halo Reach, a free-to-play multiplayer shooter based on the beloved series. This has got the correct words, but not necessarily in the right order.
Go on.
You don't necessarily need to be an expert in gaming, but you should probably get into video games to appreciate this type of innovation. All right, bossy. This particular innovation also brings new levels of realism to the medium. Instead of being able to just walk around and pick up objects by touch, players now have to interact.
Touch?
Yes.
What game lets you use touch?
VR, maybe?
VR, mate.
VR's dead good.
Dead good.
Players now have to interact with this much more detailed and immersive universe as they play. The game also gives players the option of changing the way they play by letting them create their own Halo franchise from scratch to create a story that matches their playstyle. None of that is right. Well, I think it's probably thinking as if this thing thinks. It's probably plucked like the custom level creators that are in various Halo games.
Let's not second guess Transformer.
Sorry to offend you, telephone. So what is Halo Reach?
I don't know.
Why have it been such a success?
Did it say why have it been such a success?
Yes! I want that printed on a shirt. I'm screenshotting that right now. Oh.
What, just the text, what is Halo Reach, why have it been such a success?
Yeah.
Go on.
A simple question could easily have ended your Halo career.
What?
Or if you spent some time reading these sections, it could have... Sorry, this is too good. It could have put you off and even ruined it.
Right.
But if you have played any type of games before, you know that these games can change the experience. In fact, Halo Wars 2 and Halo 3 weren't even released for 10 years or so. Maybe you've already seen the power of. That's it.
That's the end.
That's the end.
They weren't released for 10 years. From what? From when?
I just love that. So what is Halo Reach? Why have it been such a success?
Oh, good old Talk to Transformer.
This is brilliant. I love it.
Okay, so can you please put into the custom prompt Lemmings 2, the tribes is. Now, I would say are because it's plural, but I think that doesn't read very well. So I'm going to stick with is on this one. Lemmings 2, The Tribes, is to start after the main campaign if there is nothing else to do other than start the second. The second section is much shorter and will be the main point of the first two, which will have to come after the main quests. This includes most of the main side quests of Elder Scrolls V Skyrim and a good section of NPCs and events. For information on what to do during this phase, check out the lore section of this guide. Heading: Quest Stages. The other major quest line is called the Dragonborn. Since Dragonborn is one of the primary characters of the game, it is imperative that they complete that quest. They also get some benefits when dealing with the companions, since they have a companion who can help you in the events of Hearthfire and Dragonborn. Skyrim can be split into two separate campaigns.
Are you sure you wrote?
Quests are so different. Yep. The first part of the game is mostly done on foot after the destruction of the Dragonborn. You can enter a cave or someplace on foot for quests, but there is one important fact that you do not have to get lost like you do in previous games of Skyrim. Instead, you can explore a forest or swamp in the wilderness. Since you start this game out on foot, all of your food, clothing or gold will be...
Is that it?
That's it, yeah.
That's not even about...
of Lemmings 2, The Tribes is from Talk to Transformer.
That's not... I mean, does that just say how much there is on the internet about Lemmings 2,
There's
The Tribes?
There's a lot on the internet, but Talk Transformer hasn't scoured any of it, apparently.
Clearly
She's
not.
Obsessed with Skyrim.
Has it talked about Skyrim before?
No.
Have you talked to Transformed yourself?
No, I haven't, but Liz has, and it said she's some kind of monster-slaying warrior. It's brilliant.
That is brilliant.
So your guest host, are you going to do Aurora Demopoulos is?
I might as well.
Let's do it.
This will probably be terrible. It's very short. I'm kind of disappointed.
That's her description of you.
No. Aurora Demopoulos is the author of a book, in capitals.
Not true.
Of Greek Lies, the second volume. The second volume of the Greek legend and the myth of Achilles with the life of Achilles and the histories of the Peloponnesian... I can never say this word. Peloponnesian War. This is the second essay for the New York Review of Books. This essay was adapted from the series of articles for Foreign Affairs on the topic of ancient myths.
So that's funny because you didn't mention at the top, but you are half Greek.
Yes.
And half French. But yeah, you're the author of Greek Lies.
Greek Lies.
Impressive.
The second volume, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So I've clearly done a first
volume. Yeah, compromised first draft.
That is incredibly disappointing.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't think I've done that myself. Let's have a little look. Let's see what Transformer says that Will Goldstone is. Complete text. Oh, no. Oh, no. That's not very nice. So the completion says, Will Goldstone is a person? Wait, he's not. As a person, Goldstone is the most important thing in existence. He's no real person. The only real person, in inverted commas, who exists is Goldstone. He is everything. If he were to live forever, he would certainly die. He would die from a lack of food. He would die from being shot out of a cannonball.
What?
Wait, he would die A, from being shot in an arrow hole, and B, from being shot by an enemy who, in response to a verbal challenge from the enemy, shoots his own mother. So yes, everyone, including the guy sitting right next to me, does exist. He just happens to be dead. It turns out that Goldstone is the reason we talk about gold and why we try to make it so we can buy it as we talk about it on a radio show or in a paper magazine. It's because Goldstone can be sold by those who are already doing so. But it shouldn't be so hard to come up with just one more thing that can keep this gold mining fantasy going. A, inverted commas, Goldstone story, a gold mining story that the rest of us may talk about and that the world may still be able to hear. In other words, a story that may just have enough gold to last the age of...
That's it.
I mean, isn't that enough? Jesus Christ.
That was crazy.
What the fuck is that? I'm not a person. I'm the only real person. Very strange. Thanks, Talk to Transformer, for regaling me with my non-existence. And thanks to you, Aurora Demopoulos, for joining us as guest host.
Thank you, Will Goldstone, for having me as guest host.
You're very welcome. So, for those of you out there, please do tell us which is best: Halo Combat Evolved from Bungie and via Gearbox, via Microsoft Game Studios, or Lemmings to the Tribes by DMA by proxy of Psygnosis Publishing. You can vote on the tweet. So if you go to @FierceFeedback on Twitter, you can vote on the poll, which we will put up. And you can go to fiercefeedback.fun to check out my fan art of Lemmings.
Yes. No fan art. You can see my Halo shrine.
Yeah, you can.
I actually have one.
And you're going to send us a picture of your Halo shrine. Awesome. I love that. Please do go and vote. And if you have any memories or corrections or some kind of feedback, then please do hit us up. fiercefeedback@gmail.com is the address. One feature that we always do that I totally forgot about, and I didn't do and you didn't do, is false feedback, where we come up with one lie about the game as we tell the story. But it's all good. We forgot this week, but we'll bring that feature back.
You didn't brief me on that.
Didn't at all.
No.
No.
So I wasn't prepared.
No.
I couldn't do that bit of the homework.
No.
I did all the rest, though.
You did good homework. Well
Thanks.
done. Cool. Okay. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.